Greetings, War Report family. This is your boy Caesar C Dub, and welcome to this weekend installment of the Weekend Tailgate, guys. I got my boys here: B Will, Mike G, and Ike Jones. Guys, listen, we're a few days out from signing day, so you know we're going to be talking recruiting, all that and more. I'm ready. I hope you're ready. Let's get it. Gentlemen, how's everybody doing?
Amazing.
Good,
Great
man.
Sunday.
Good. We good.
Yeah, feeling all right.
I'm well fed, Mike. I'm
Doing
well
out-
fed and not hungry.
Throwing shots early.
That was unnecessary.
Throwing shots
I
early.
feel bad for you, man. I feel bad for you.
Well, if I go dark here, you know what happened around the 30-minute mark.
Hungry, y'all. So be expecting some sparks today. So we hope y'all are doing well, just as well as we are. We got a lot to talk about. We can go ahead and start with the talk about recruiting, guys. We just had some news yesterday. Harsin went to the transfer portal and got his first commit. Guy Iku Leota, who was a Northwestern transfer, defensive end, just committed and is expected to sign this upcoming Wednesday on signing day. This kid is 6'4", 250. Over the past 2 years or 3 years, he's played like a total of 18 games, 25 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 6.5 sacks. He had 4 sacks last year. I think that was more than anyone on Auburn's team last year. So
That's a fact.
he is supposed to graduate at Northwestern in spring, is expected to arrive in Auburn in June, and he'll be eligible to play immediately. So,
Okay. All right.
thoughts?
You know what? Listen, so we've gotten almost nobody in this transfer
Facts.
sweepstakes.
That's not all or no. That's facts.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like this is kind of like that first part of the snowball starting to pick up for him in recruiting, because it's looking like it might be a really thin recruiting class. We have some work to do. We got major work to do here if they expect to fill some holes. I think that there's a guy that I chat with, one of our devout kind of listeners. He's Drew Tiger on Twitter, but him and I chat during the week about a lot of the kids that we've already got in that we just haven't heard anything about. Right, a lot of guys who were freshmen last year who are going to be monsters and possibly have a lot more potential in the system under Harsin. So, getting this guy and then being able, again, as Zach is saying, getting pass rush pressure off the ends to help out, because we've got a killer secondary, and we start to pick up the pass rush and put these QBs under some pressure. Our defense has a shot to be really, really nasty. So, you can't, in a 3-4, right, getting in pressure is going to be huge.
Yeah, that's the only thing so I haven't looked at what Northwestern's scheme was. So, if he's going to be bringing in pressure, I wonder if it's going to be in like a pass package, right? Like if they're going to go to a dime, or if they're going to bring him in on passing downs to come off and switch to a 4-man front, or if he's going to actually play an outside linebacker position, because he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's going to kick in and play, an interior tackle type like he is a true D end. So the question is whether or not he's going to play an outside linebacker and strictly be for like that rush position in the 3-4, or if they're going to put him in and make him a package guy, right? He comes in when it's an obvious passing down, and his job is just to go get the quarterback. But yeah, I think it's interesting. We definitely need that pass rusher, somebody who's just a true get after the quarterback, bring the edge rusher pressure, because we haven't had that. Big Cat wasn't really that guy for us. TD Moultrie has not been that guy for us. Apparently everybody's talking about TD kicking back into inside linebacker anyway. So I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing kind of how he's getting utilized in a position of need for us.
Right.
I expect him to compete with Derek Hall for that rush position, being like a rush specialist, coming in on obvious passing downs. Hall kind of came on towards the end of last year a little bit. He
Hmm.
being lost for a good bit of the season, but I think if anything, this new recruit Leonte, he will provide at least depth at the very least, and he could very well challenge to be the primary guy who rushes the QB. I want to get you guys' thoughts on this comment from Devin Dawson. I want to thank you for commenting and joining the show, man. What are your
Devin
thoughts on?
Dawson, that's our guy from All About Auburn. Shout out to him.
Hey,
What up?
Devin.
What up?
Right, yeah. Devin is the source of many arguments that I have with people on his board during the week about what Auburn is going to finish in 2021. So shout out to Devin, definitely. But
What do you guys' thoughts here?
yeah, we failed in the portal. I'm not gonna lie. Like, listen, we did not. I'm not sure what to make of this. Right, like I think a lot of people don't know what to make of Brian Harsin.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of this failure is about, again, relationships that weren't established. He had nothing to build on.
Right.
So like, we totally missed out on the Jeremy Pruitt Happy Meal sweepstakes.
Yeah.
They had a mass exodus. I think we got nobody from that. And that was a chance for a lot of kids to stay in the SEC, right? Go down the road to Auburn, 3 hours, right, and showcase their talents and be eligible immediately. So it was really disappointing that we didn't get anybody from that. I really do believe, we've had the recruiting talk where I feel like our portal failures are coming in is that we don't have an established winning culture at Auburn. We didn't have a winning culture. We had an average culture, right, at 8 wins a year. And if Harsin can come in year one, I see a lot of people in the chat. Like I see some things here saying 9-3 book it, 10-2. Somebody posted on Devin's board, hey, what do you guys think we're going to finish? I was shocked at the amount of 12 and O's I saw. I was like, is this joke? Is this hyperbole? Like what? And
yeah,
so,
hyperbole is the correct answer. Yes, because I don't know anyone who seriously believes that we're going to go undefeated next season. Even if you're being optimistic, I don't think undefeated is a realistic thought on any given year with so many things in question. With like, if there were just one or two question marks, then I can see. All right, well, all we need is this thing to fall, but undefeated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, listen, I see Felix Gonzalez here in the comments. I want to shout out to Felix, man. Thanks for joining us, dude. I see him here. We will get a lot of comments come in, so we don't always get time to get to every single comment, but we definitely want you guys to hit the comment section after so we can continue the conversation with you guys after the live.
A lot of familiar faces in here. My man Uzi in here already giving Caesar a hard time. Anthony Grant, what up? You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you. Of course, we already shouted out Devin. I thought I saw Elizabeth in here.
She's in here. She's
Elizabeth made it.
Yeah. No Latre up in this thing. I appreciate you, man. Just a lot of familiar. Stan is here today. Zach is back.
I do want to highlight this comment here from Casey Freeman. I don't know if Auburn is going after this guy. I heard he is trying to get out of his letter of intent, but I don't know if Auburn's really pursue him. And we're going to get into later on biggest recruiting needs, who Auburn is going after.
Right.
And running back is definitely one of the positions that we got to focus on and comment on. But I don't think as of now, Cody Brown is one of those guys. So continue on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, man, I just think, at the end of the day, we are in a position where 2021, it sounds like, if you guys heard Brian Harsin's last press conference, it sounded like he was pretty resigned that this class was going to be crap. Right? Like, that's what I heard from him. Now, he didn't say that with his words, but his tone and, the context of his words suggested that, hey, man, listen, 2021 might be a wash because I got put into a undesirable situation with the last coach leaving, and he comes in and people don't know what to think of him just yet. But I'll tell you what, if he comes in and he wins 8 games next year and he's competitive in the 4 that he loses, right? And we can figure out what the hell we're doing at quarterback, right? So what that means is either Bo is significantly improved, which I'm rooting for either way, right? I want everybody to hear me here. I'm rooting for Bo to improve significantly one way or the other, because it only helps Auburn for us to have great backup in the wings where we don't have to feel like our season is going down because the starter got hurt.
Right.
Right. I mean,
Right.
I think we all agree that's the position that we've been in the last 2 years with Bo. Right. Like he hasn't played great, but if he goes down, we're absolutely screwed. We have no chance. It's not a great position. So, what we're hearing is we got an interview. I don't know. Should I tease this interview? Should I tease this interview a little bit?
Nah, not yet.
No,
We-
okay.
Not
I'll
yet.
save it.
Not yet.
I'll save
Not
it.
yet.
I'll save it. But listen, we when we bring you guys these opinions, we're talking to guys who have played the position, right? And then we bring you those interviews. And a lot of our opinions are formed based on what these guys are telling us they see. And a lot of what we're hearing is that Bo is fixable, right? Most of his problems have to do with footwork. I asked the question, well, why haven't they fixed it? Nobody has a good answer for that. Right. But it is fixable, and that is what's really encouraging. So if you fix his footwork, because to be clear, he's doing all the same stuff he's been doing from high school with his feet. I challenge you to go back and watch his high school highlight tape without paying attention to the completed pass. Just watch how he throws the ball. Right? Off his back foot to the side, leaning backwards. Every other play he steps into a throw, even on the highlights. So if they can fix that, because Demetrius Davis, one of our guys was like, man, listen to Mike tell it, Demetrius Davis is a starter already. And my point is that all the fun, it's not about completions. It's, if you make a correlation between his completion percentage and his fundamentals, it's easy to understand why this guy is 70% completion percentage in high school. He does everything fundamentally sound. Just watch the tape, right? And there is a correlation between fundamentals in high school and stats when you come in that carry over to college, right? Because there was a correlation for both. So that's all I'm saying. I'm like, listen, I'm looking forward to Harsin and Bobo being able to do something with Bo. I'm really excited about it. And if we have two competent quarterbacks and Demetrius Davis can actually come in and push Bo, we only win from that situation. I feel like a lot of fans are in the other or, right? Like, and to be clear, so everybody that's listening is clear, I listen to other Auburn content creators because the worst thing you can do is be in an echo chamber where the only opinions you hear are your own. Now, I hear a lot of stuff that's wrong and stupid, but I also But I also hear a lot of stuff that's from the commenters that's great and right on target, right? So like what I would say is that nobody is against Bo. I don't think anybody's against Bo. I think that the fan base is split on whether he's coachable or not. Right? That's where we're at. Like some people feel like the Gus apologists kill me because they want to absolve Gus. But then everybody thinks that there's in the third year that something's going to magically snap for Bo and he's all of a sudden going to become this quarterback. There's no third year magical thing that happens. You either fix your fundamentals or you don't. And it doesn't take 2 years to fix it. So if coaching was the problem, we're going to find out really quickly. So don't be surprised if he finds his ass on the bench if he doesn't fix his fundamentals. Because I guarantee you they're going to be coaching it. And to throw Malzahn a bone, I don't believe that they weren't teaching plant your feet. I don't believe that was the case.
They just didn't include the most important part of that, or you're going to the bench.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but listen, I mean, let's we talk about the coaching issue for all of this is not even necessarily, hey, were they coaching Bo properly? It is the issue that nobody was prepared to come in if Bo didn't do it.
Right.
Cord Sandberg wasn't ready. If Bo had gotten hurt, we would have seen how terrible our coaching staff really was at either identifying talent to bring them in as a true number two or getting a number two actually ready to go out there and play. I was not even remotely impressed with the 5-6 snaps I saw from Grant Lloyd last year. Cord Sandberg, right. We didn't see enough of him in real game action to get an accurate depiction. When he did play a little bit the year before, of the freshman year for Bo, 2019, he looked decent out there in garbage time against, Podunk University. Like, he looked okay then, but that didn't really tell me what he could do in any true SEC challenge. I definitely do not feel as if Joey Gatewood was the solution. The only guy that I think was even going to be competent in running this offense would have been Malik Willis, and he definitely did not get enough opportunities to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
So I think the issue for me is it seems as if when we had Malik Willis on the team, he wasn't given the opportunities to even play in the system that fit him really well. And that's an issue to me for coaching. So again, like we can get off of Bo altogether and still highlight issues that I have with the coaching staff and the way that they handle personnel. Like that's not even a Bo Nix issue. The issue for me is when Bo Nix played poorly, which he did a lot on the road in big games. We'll get back to the on the road thing in just a second because there's I heard conversation about Bo Nix. It's a farce to say that Bo Nix plays poorly on the road. I challenge you to find me a good game that he played on the road.
Yeah, the stats don't support that comment,
but
at all. The statistics.
My issue more so is the fact that we were not placing someone else in the position to challenge Bo and say, you know what, if you don't play well this game, I'm gonna sit you. Right? That's a problem for me.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's how adjusted to mediocrity we've become. Right. And why we're we've fallen behind in the arms race in terms of development and evaluation is that again, playing poorly should not be the only mark for pulling a quarterback, right? Not playing to your potential when there's a guy who will play to his potential. Right.
Sure.
And you understand what I'm saying? Like,
Sure.
Hey, listen, he played all right and we had a chance, but we lost, but it wasn't terrible. Well, hey, listen, if you got a guy on the bench who will play more than all right, he should get a shot. That's how I feel. Now, I mean, Brian and I go back and forth on this, right? But I still believe that one of the greatest in-game decisions I've ever seen was Saban pulling Hurts in the middle of a national title game and putting in a true freshman, right? Listen, this is how confident they were in their ability to be able to develop. And if you're Tua, like, a lot of people will feel like, man, you throwing this guy to the wolves in a national title game like this? And he pulled it out. And not only did he pull it out, he made the throw that won it in overtime. And I just thought I was just like, you know what? Like to even be able to have that option. So forget about the call, Brian. Forget about the call. To just have the option to be able to go to your freshman quarterback in a national title game, right, when your starter is not playing up to his snuff. And Hurts was a good quarterback. I think that's what we're looking for from Harsin. Options. That's all I'm saying. Don't focus on the call, Brian. I'm just saying having the option to be able to go to your backup is something that we have not really seen at Auburn. The last time we felt like that was when Jeremy Johnson filled in for Nick Marshall when he was suspended for weed or something. Right? That's the last time I felt like that. And we saw Jeremy Johnson came in and ripped it up. And I was like, oh, man, we're in good hands after Nick Marshall leaves. Now, we all know how that turned out.
You know what, though? So to that point that you just made, we had Jeremy Johnson in the first half of that was the season, the first game of the season, right?
Arkansas,
right?
Yeah.
All right. And he killed it. All right. So for one half against Georgia in the national championship game, Tua kills it against Georgia. Was a very good defense that year. The difference between Jeremy Johnson for one half of a game and Jeremy Johnson for an entire season is that nobody was prepared for Jeremy Johnson for that first half. And that's all he got. So he succeeded. After the game, after the national championship game that Georgia lost, after being up on Alabama, they came out and said, well, after in subsequent interviews, no, we did not prepare for Tua Tagovailoa to have significant snaps in this game. It was not a part of our game plan. When you are losing badly, it is not a remarkable call to go, well, we can't lose worse. Let's try the other guy.
They weren't losing badly.
No, okay. Not losing badly as far as score. They were not moving the ball well at all against Georgia.
Well, my thing is, but the thing is, B, as unremarkable of a call that is, Gus wouldn't make it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, how many coaches?
I agree. I agree, which is why we are glad Gus.
So, relatively speaking, it is remarkable. It's
remarkable because how many coaches would make that call? We don't see it happen that often, let alone.
Let me see. Right, Nick Saban has made that call. We know that. What's his name at Ole Miss? Why am I losing his name? Head coach.
Lane Kiffin.
Kiffin. We know Kiffin. Listen, if you ain't doing it, you out of there. Mike Leach, if you ain't doing it, you out of there. Listen, there are plenty of coaches who can and would make that call. We have just been stuck in a world where we had a coach for the past 8 years who would not make very common sense calls. So,
right. But the difference is those guys all have somebody waiting in the wings that they feel comfortable going to. When we've had to go to our backup, it's pretty clear why we have not gone to the backup. Right,
guys. Like, let's answer this question here. Since we're talking quarterbacks,
yes.
Uzi asks, we hear people bring up, and I think we've been saying it wrong. I do me the honors. How's it pronounced?
I think it's Shayal Garnett, and I probably still got it wrong.
And if we butchered it, our apologies.
Yeah, somebody spell that phonetically for us.
Somebody did in one of the comments. I'm going to look it up real quick.
I just want to make sure we're saying his name right.
Yeah.
But anyway, what is the chances, guys? I think he's going to get a shot.
Listen, I think everybody has a shot. If they are out there right now and they are listed as a QB for our team, I think everybody has a shot to play right now. Right. I don't think anybody's locked up that position until they show it in practice to the guy who's going to be making the call right now. Right. And that's either Mike Bobo or that's going to be Brian Harsin. And, apparently Bo has been out there putting in the work right now. Like, I've seen videos of him out there on the practice field. Yeah, he just recently got, the whatever they're giving out awards for the guys who are like, I think it's like an Iron Man award or something like that for like getting into the weight room.
Devin mentioned it.
So like he's out there working, right? And so if Shail is what somebody just said in the comment section.
Okay, Shail. Okay,
but like so. I think that whoever's out there working is the one that is going to get the shot. And he is not in the transfer portal from anything I've seen so far.
I haven't seen it. I haven't heard any indication that he is either. Continue.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. So yeah, I don't think that there is anybody who is not going to get a shot right now. Last year, apparently the reason why he wasn't playing early is because he was hurt. Right. It wasn't even like a situation where they didn't want to give him. Maybe he was going to be the true number 2. Right. I have no idea. Again, I haven't seen the kid in a game situation to have an evaluation. What I did see in a game situation was Grant Loy, who looked like he was running through sand.
Oh my God.
What I did see in a game situation.
Right.
What I did see in the game situation was what's the other kid that just transferred out, the baseball player? I just said his name.
Sandberg.
I did see Cord Sandberg, and he looked like he could spin it, but apparently there are other things, as far as his decision making that precluded him from getting into the game last year. I think
was fixable too. I thought some of the issues they harped on with him, that was fixable. So it's just a matter of it's like, to me, these quarterbacks, the things, again, the person that we've interviewed recently that we will announce down the road talked about issues that are fixable with quarterbacks.
What we will say is it is a former Auburn quarterback that we have on deck. We've been teasing that we have a former Auburn quarterback. We secured the interview. The interview's in the hopper. We're going to have that dropping for you guys probably a week after next. So I will say that much.
Right. Like, listen, and they're all high on Bo. In that, listen, his issues are not unfixable, but the why is where everybody's stumped. Right. Now, and so I want to clear up one more thing here, because the fan base is split on this, right? Because I see that Devin had a question about why we can't get good O-line talent, right?
Hold on, before you go there, I apologize, but this I have to just dispel. Like, this is not the same thing. All right, he was experimenting that game because the guy who he wanted to start was hurt. Right. So that's not the same thing.
Wait, who was hurt in that game?
Who was the starting quarterback that year?
Was it Sean
White?
I think Sean White was injured early, and they were just like trying to figure some stuff out.
They were doing that whole season stupid stuff. I think they was doing like
they had 5 quarterbacks.
They had a fullback in his Wildcat.
Yeah, it was Chandler Cox was out there playing freaking. They were running daggone just wishbone, like they were doing stupid stuff.
Right. Yeah. So listen, okay. So like, let me just again, so that we're clear, because I don't want to be duplicitous, and I don't want to hide behind falsities. Right. I listen to other Auburn content creators. Number one, I love hearing what other people have to say. So I listen. Right. It was embarrassing. Right. I definitely love hearing what other people have to say. I love hearing other perspectives. And, we have some very intelligent commenters who are really, really plugged into football. And I've learned a lot from you guys. But the one thing that I want to dispel is that all Bo's problems last year were about this O-line. They weren't. And I'm telling you that from going back and looking at the tape, right? Like, I mean, I started with LSU because statistically that was his best game of the season.
Right.
Right. And the amount of times that he threw off his back foot under no pressure against one of the worst defenses in our league was unreal. And I'm like, okay, but why didn't he set his feet there? Right. And, we're dropping the Courtney Taylor interview on Monday. And one of the things that Courtney talks about was reps. If you are not repping it in practice until you cannot get it wrong, you're going to do it wrong in the game. So I go back to, that's why I come back to coaching and I take it a little bit off Bo. And I'm like, is he not repping this stuff in practice? Right. And I really think what we're going to find out is whether or not it was coaching or it was the kid not being coachable. Now, he's the common denominator that's left. But the idea that we can put this bubble wrap around Bo and then trash our offensive line, who got better as the season went along, by the way.
With major injuries.
Yeah. I mean, they had stuff to overcome and they gelled and got better as the season went along, which is why Tank was able to put up numbers as the season went along as well, too. But this whole thing where we'll just throw the O-line under the bus and say nobody will succeed against that O-line, I'm telling you that the tape does not support that. It just doesn't. You just have to slow it down and watch it.
What the tape does support, though, is Bo was running for his life a lot. We were in the top 10 last year in giving up sacks on the season. So to say that we had no offensive line problems in pass protection, not true as well.
Not true.
But
right.
Also what the tape supports is that often there was no pressure or he bailed out too early because it was like one guy coming at him. Right. So what he doesn't do well is move within the pocket. You're not helping your O-line out at all if they're pushing a guy wide and you decide to run wide. Or you're drifting in the pocket early. Like Mike and I were sitting down and watching some tape. And it was within his first 3 steps of his 3-step drop, he was drifting into the pressure, which made him have an overthrow on the pass. That was the LSU game we were watching, right?
And then we're blaming the O-line for that.
Right.
No,
that was all on Bo in the fact that he knew he wanted to throw to the receiver who was coming on the right. And so he started drifting in that direction to load up for the throw. If he had dropped straight back, the offensive line had given him a lane directly to make that throw on the slant. All he had to do was drop straight back and take 1 step up into the pocket. It'd have been a clean throw to an open receiver on a slant. But he drifted into the pressure, made him throw it high, subsequently overthrew the receiver.
Right.
That's not offensive line's fault. That's fundamentals for Bo. That's footwork.
Now we had issues at both positions, right? I just thought it was very. I just am amazed at how people are so quick to throw the offensive line under the bus when they made clear improvements as the season went along, right? But as they improved, Bo stayed the same. Right. And saying that, nobody would do well playing behind that offensive line. There's some truth to the fact that they didn't play well and it had an effect on how he played. But blaming all of his problems on that offensive line is complete and utter crap. I'm sorry. It's just
disingenuous. It's disingenuous.
It's very disingenuous.
You're ignoring some of the issues on Bo's end as well that needs to be addressed and fixed.
Listen, a good quarterback can help a bad offensive line to some extent by not holding on to the ball, going through their progressions quickly, and delivering the ball where it can be caught quickly. Right? You know how it's funny is that what they say about a bad pass rush leaves your DBs on an island. Right. And no matter how good your DBs are, you can only legitimately cover for like 4 to 5 seconds. Even that, before the receiver has the edge on you.
Especially receivers as fast as some of the ones that we had on the field.
Going at, right? Yeah, it's the same thing on offense with your offensive line. These guys can only block for so long.
Yeah.
Right. If you're not going to make a decision and get the ball out of your hands, you have to help them somewhat. And if we know that that's a weakness going into the season, I would say that your scheme should have some play calling that helps you cover your offensive line deficiencies a little bit and also helps your quarterback.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was actually an issue that I had with play calling last year as well, was just that we know that, and Brian talks about this a lot. B. Will talks about this a lot about how Bo he's a streak shooter, right? With in basketball, what they call a streak shooter. Somebody, once he sees a couple of them completed, then he starts ripping it more consistently. Right. And I just don't know why more often early in games we weren't getting him those types of throws just to get him comfortable back there,
right,
and allow him to rip some of the other throws later in games.
Right.
Because he clearly did well on the early slant routes. Now, the receivers dropped a few of those early in the game, which that immediate, like, he's one of those, again, he's a streak shooter. So, like, when he sees the throw that he makes well and somebody drops it, it lowers his confidence a little bit. He's like, oh, crap, I can't, even when I'm doing good, we're not going to get it right. Like, so his emotion fluctuates with the success of the play, right? But I just think we worked too early on those, just turn and fire it out to a receiver on a quick screen stuff early in the game that was super predictable, and not enough on true 3-4 yards down the field quick routes where it's a receiver running a quick slant or a quick out, get the ball out of his hands quickly and allow him to just feel the rhythm of stepping back, 1, 2, 3, back foot, let it go. Right. Like, it's just,
where we saw that, where we had that happening when Chip Lindsey was calling plays, Ryan Davis in the slot, 3 yards on the field, quick. And now I'm making listen, even if you can't,
we were gashing defenses when we was doing that.
Man, it's like schematically, we were so much more sound. Chip Lindsey was definitely a better play caller, and I liked his passing game a lot better than what Gus's was. But it made me wonder if Chip Lindsey, he didn't want to put up with Gus either, by the way, which is why he left. But Chip Lindsey had a very sound passing attack, and I really miss. I think that is a way that we did fail, but there we go. That's exactly what it was. Without a very sound running game in 2018, there were still plays there to be had. Without a sound offensive line, there were plays there to be had. Chip Lindsey got that out of our passing game. Now, Stidham was a better passer than Bo, obviously, but there was still more. There was an attempt to protect with how the game was schemed and called, and it seemed far too often in the Gus Malzahn era, even though we're past it now, that it was, I want to do one, I want to do two. We can't do one. Well, let's do it anyway. Maybe we'll get, no, we don't. It's not working. We either don't have the tools or we don't have, that's what it came down. We don't have the guys who can execute it. And there was never a plan B that was earnestly banked on, like, well, we have to figure something else out. Right. I don't think we're going to be in that situation anymore.
Yeah, listen, I'm excited. I'm excited that Harsin might actually scheme around what he has to work with rather than trying to shove that square peg down that round hole. Right. Like, I see that. Right. I'll just say it.
We're still 12.
I'm sorry, I'm not an adult fully.
We're still 12. Yeah.
I see that Daniel is in here. I want to thank Daniel for being here. He's a regular commenter here. He doesn't agree with a lot of what we have to say, but I do appreciate him being here. And when I say the Augusta apologists, right? Like, I saw Daniel made a comment about Alabama, like, well, they beat Alabama, and can we? To me, in my mind, I just want to move past as a fan base of thinking that beating Alabama is some sort of ultimate success in light of.
Well, it's not even an ultimate success. We view it as some sort of consolation prize. It's like, well, we had a terrible season, but we beat Alabama.
Yeah, man, that's a loser.
We didn't win the national title, but we won the Iron Bowl. It's
man, that's great. We want to beat Alabama, but if you're beating a team like Alabama, it has to force you to look at a South Carolina and say, if we're able to beat them, what the heck did we do here, and why did that happen? Right? A team that beats Bama should be able to consistently at least not get ran off the field by Georgia, but you should be competitive, right?
Right.
So that's just the thing there. Hey guys, let's go ahead. We got a lot more things to cover and on the show. We want to get into biggest recruiting needs, but first, man, let's kind of talk about what we got coming on the tuck, man. We dropping a new video tomorrow, right, Mike?
Yeah.
Yes, we are. So we have Courtney Taylor interview that's coming out tomorrow. Courtney was very gracious. It was a very good interview. He talks a lot. I think Ryan Davis broke his record for most receptions by an Auburn receiver. And Courtney was one of those guys, right? Like he caught probably one of the biggest passes in Auburn history. 4th and 12 versus LSU in our undefeated season. We don't go undefeated if he doesn't catch that pass. Right. And one of the things he talked about was everything that he repped in practice that prepared him to make that catch. Right? It was muscle memory. He said they practiced that exact throw 1,000 times in practice, the little 12-yard out. He ran the route to the perfect depth. Jason put the ball only where he would catch it. And then he fell to the ground and secured the ball with his body to make sure there was no way he was going to drop that ball. One of the greatest possession receivers we have ever seen at Auburn. Yes. I am so ready to see more of that. So I think you guys will really enjoy that interview. Along with that, I mentioned that the War Report is growing, right? And so because we cannot get to all your comments here, we're actually adding 2 lives a month. And when you guys will have the opportunity tomorrow to sign up for our premium service, we are going to go live 2 more times a month where we do nothing but talk to you guys and address your comments. In addition, as a thank you for signing up for that premium service, we're going to bring a pro on to talk with you. So it will not just be us. There will be a former Auburn player turned NFL pro that will be on the stream with us to answer your questions and help educate us all on the game. So we're really looking forward to being able to provide that for you guys.
Yeah, so like if you are interested in that, those services are going to go live tomorrow. We're going to have 2 tiers. One of them is just a support tier, right? Like it's going to be a couple of bucks a month. If you just want to be able to support us and help us to continue to grow, that membership level is going to be live tomorrow. The chat with the pro is going to be the tier 2 of that with those additional lives. In addition to that, you see I'm rocking my sweatshirt. I got my hat on today. The merch store is going to be live. We've been teasing this up for a little while. We're going to have merch for y'all to be able to go ahead and rock that thing. You know what I'm saying? So while we're here, make sure you are going ahead and hitting that like button, or if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to the channel because we appreciate all of that support, even if it's free, right? Like the free support still helps us to grow, and we appreciate all of you who have been rocking with us all this time. But we just gonna have some more little flavor that we want to kick in y'all ear a little bit coming up. So
for sure.
All right, guys, let's get back to. And by the way, guys, smash the like button. We see a lot of people in here commenting, and we love it. We appreciate it. But go ahead and smash the like button. You know you like this. You like this content.
You know you want this, girl.
So yeah, man. So definitely smash the like button. Continue commenting, and let's get into it, guys. All right. Biggest recruiting needs.
National Signing Day coming up, baby.
It is coming.
Ooh, we need a lot.
It's a lot of needs, guys. We need to get some kids on board. So, just in your opinion, what do you think? And I have 3 position groups that I'm focusing on. We've harped on 2 of what mine are, but I just want to hear from you guys. Ike, start us off, man. Like, what do you think the biggest needs? If we know this class was going to take a step back and take a hit. But what are some things Auburn needs to do? What are some guys Auburn need? Who do you think Auburn needs to bring in that will address some definite needs going into 2021?
Yeah, we've got to address the depth at the offensive line. I think that's what's going to pull it all together for us. If we give more time to the quarterback,
for sure,
it's going to allow us to be able to be a little bit better in all phases of what we have going on. Running the ball. Tank made a ton of yards that probably no other running back would have been able to. I commented on that one game specifically. I was like, that was a 3-yard run. Tank would have made that a 9-yard run easily. But offensive line, we need to get some more depth in the running back room. Right?
Appreciate that, AUB 117.
Appreciate that very much for the support.
Brother.
The running back room depth has got to get some more, right? So right now we only have 2 real running backs on there, and that is Tank and Shivers, right? So somebody else needs to be able to come in. You saw last year we played 3-4 running backs in the season last year, and we're going to need to be able to build that depth to get better for next season. And then I guess the third position that I really think that we need to figure out is, depending upon how they want to run the scheme defensively, somewhere in that front 7, whether it is going to be on the defensive line or in the linebacker room. I think the linebackers we have right now are solid. Somebody mentioned Wesley Steiner earlier. He didn't see much playing time last year. He should be back and ready to play this year. If they're going to be putting Moultrie into the inside linebacker slot, that means that you have Steiner and Moultrie that could be coming behind Papo and McClain at inside linebacker if they're going to continue to play there. Then that means the outside linebackers are really where we're going to have to focus on. So we're going to have, Wooten's going to be back. the kid who opted out, whose name is escaping me right now, Chandler Wooden, I think is his name.
Yes.
Is going to be coming back. So we've got some players that can play out there, but we need that true pass rusher. Hopefully this transfer is going to be one of those guys that's going to do that. But yeah, those would be the three areas that I would look at, is somewhere in that front seven, possibly outside linebacker, or the three down if we're going to be running that 3-4 scheme, the offensive line, and then running back.
Who's the guy that what's the guy's name that's filling in for Travis at linebacker coach?
Schmitting?
Burt
Watts.
Burt Watts, the outside linebacker.
Burt Watts,
Schmitting's
the outside linebacker. Schmitting's inside. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Listen, man, these guys need to have a killer development plan, because I'm looking at what we have in terms of recruiting, right? And, again, the gap between us and other schools in our conference right now is that the guys that they're bringing in are probably a little closer to ready to play, and we're going to have to develop majorly. So, you're talking about top 50 recruits versus one inside linebacker nationally, he's 205th overall, right? So these guys aren't exactly ready made. We got Trevin Wallace, kind of sitting out here.
Appreciate that, Nola Trey. That's a wise man. Do what he says. Continue, Mike.
And as Isaac was saying, at running back, there's Jarquez Hunter out of Philadelphia, Mississippi, right? Who again is not like a super highly sought after guy, but when you look at his tape, I mean, he certainly has some potential. They just need, I think that we have enough talent that they just need to be able to get a few guys in to help us build for 2022. And then develop some depth behind the guys that we already have. But it's really all going to come down to development when we talk about this recruiting class, right? These aren't going to be 5-star guys. We're not going to have a single 5-star in this class, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I'm okay with that, to be clear.
Yeah, I'm fine.
As long as that kid is going to come in and compete, I'm okay with him not having the great star rating. It doesn't matter. We just need more bodies, really, to be able to promote that competition.
Right. And if you listen to the video of Nick Eason, right, coaching guys at the Senior Bowl, right, it reminds me a lot of what Don Dunn and Terry Price were like back in the day, right? The type of coaching that they're receiving and I mean, they produced a lot of monsters. So, I can't say for sure 100% accuracy Nick Eason is going to be the best coach we've ever had, right? But in terms of development, he does seem to have some of those intangibles that might make him a great coach. So I'm hopeful that the development plan will help make this recruiting class look a little better than they do on paper, right? Because that's all we can really hope for. And then if they can win, a lot of you guys hoping for 9 wins. If we can pull out 9 wins, recruiting gets easier for 2022.
Right.
If we get 9 wins, I'm throwing a party and all the War Report families invited.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, it is a lot easier to recruit these kids. We're having a different conversation this time next year about this recruiting class. So, greatest needs. I don't know how important it is for them, really. I think Demetrius Davis is all we're going to get in terms of quarterback, but we need a backup quarterback.
That's fine. You know what? That to your point, and I don't want to hold you up too long.
No, go ahead.
I'm glad we've got a 1-2, as long as our 1-2 can push each other. That's right. Our 1-2 can push each other. One goes down. Now we got 2. And if it was as competitive as it should be, then we should be in just as good a situation with number 2 as we are with number 1. And that's the best I can hope for this year.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best we're going for.
B. Will, what are some needs what are you thinking, man?
Well, we've very quietly stocked up on tight ends, so that's not a need. We actually have some impressive tight end talent on this roster. I hope that they get some spotlight, but that's not a worry for me. Offensive line, it's hard to say. Oh, it's funny. It's hard to say with offensive line because we discussed this earlier. Offensive line got better, they just got hurt. So now I'm wondering, man, we finally at a spot? Was it Big Nail was our coach last year?
Yes.
Was he doing the job? Was that how many of those guys? I know we lost some because they graduated out, but the transfer, Coffee, what's his name? Brandon, can't get his name right. He transferred in, but he got hurt. Offensive line.
Oh man, I can't think of his name. I know you're talking about.
Everything was starting to jail.
Brandon Council.
There we go. Yeah. Council. So is he coming back? How many of those pieces? How much of a need offensive line is? Because I know some transfers were eyeballing us before Gus left. How many of those do we retain? I know at least one of them went elsewhere.
Right.
they've got a few days to close on it, and the cool, warm, prediction with high school recruits doesn't quite apply to transfer because it's a much more narrow view of what their options are. It's usually like one or two for them. So we stand a chance to get a good number of offensive linemen. If Mike's strength and conditioning theory is correct, then we shouldn't have nearly as many injuries anywhere on the roster because everybody's just going to be Hulk. So, you know what I'm saying? No injuries. So we really only need, 2, maybe 3 additional offensive linemen to come in and start getting into, well, if they miss spring camp with what's going on now with the new strength and conditioning program, then they probably will need some more time to develop. But for the people who are on the roster right now, they're going to hit off-season workouts, spring camp, summer workouts, fall camp, and then the game, they should be prepared. That's You got 8 months to get into the current administration's program for what they want our athletes to be able to do, strength-wise and conditioning-wise. So I have no worries. I'm not too worried. I would say offensive line is one, but the biggest one by far, running back, like Isaac said, 2 guys isn't enough, man. Even if your strength and conditioning is great, running back is too violent a position to just assume health. So you've got to have at least 3 guys that can do great. I
agree with this 100%.
Not 2 guys and a third one, it's okay. It's like quarterback, that's fine because you don't expect your quarterback to take that many hits like a running back does. 2 and a possible is fine for quarterback. With running back, you need 3 and a possible.
3 and a possible for sure. Yeah,
really. And we are far from that. Really, with Shiver's injury history, we got like 1 and a possible right now, to be honest with you.
Right.
I would like to see 2 more guys get in there. I really want to see 2 more.
I see a comment here that says if Tank goes down, we're in trouble. Well, not if we have a competent short passing game, right? And I'm thinking a lot of deficiencies can be schemed around, and I think that's what if you watch us, that I feel like coaches don't take enough of the blame when players don't do what they're supposed to do. I think a lot of times as fans, we're all guilty of it. We throw the player under the bus, right? So as hard as it may seem like I am on Bo, I actually blame coaching more than I blame Bo for anything, right? I just don't think that he's been properly coached his whole high school and college career. And so at running back, the same thing, man. If we have an injury, I expect them to be able to come up with an offensive scheme, right, before it happens, right? So this is the contingencies need to be in place. Right, we know we don't have a lot of depth at running back. What if Tank gets hurt?
I think you still have to have somebody running the ball. For no other reason other than we have a lead and we need to milk the clock. Like incomplete pass stops the clock, right? Passes have the higher probability of getting intercepted, especially if you're going to have issues with pass blocking. So even a short passing game can't substitute for a competent running back being able to go downhill and get you 3 or 4 yards at any given time, which is what Tank is able to do.
Right, but but what I'm saying is, in terms of overall game plan, if you plan on being run heavy, right, you still need to be able to.
No, I agree. I agree with game planning wise.
Yes, but game planning, you need to have some flexibility there in terms of what you're primarily doing if you don't have a Tank in the lineup, right? And then when it comes time to run the clock, you need a running back who's competent enough to pick up 3 to 4 yards, not run backwards, not go east to west when he needs to be headed north south, right?
And not fumble.
Yeah, not fumble and secure football, and we should be good. So, I'm iffy here. So, again, a lot of this just comes back down to coaching, right? You'll hear us talk about it a lot. It's evaluation and it's development, and we have more development we have to do because recruiting is not going to solve a lot for us in this cycle.
Agreed.
I'm telling you that right now. We're not going to solve a whole lot of problems in this recruiting cycle because we have 12 commits. And there was a question about how many scholarships we have left to offer. I'm not sure the way that they count scholarships.
I want to say 12 because I think they're counting a kicker or someone back towards this class from last year.
And we lost a lot. We lost. I mean, a lot of people jumped in the portal from here, so we got spots.
Right. So 2022 is going to be it.
For me, guys, it's, not to harp, but O-line, running back, those are the top 2. This is what we've been talking about for weeks. I think this puts an emphasis on some of the kids who are out there. Kobe Smith, the offensive tackle, 4-star kid out of North Carolina who was once committed to Tennessee. we need to land him. Like this is non-negotiable. There was a Jordan Mako who's a JUCO. I think he's heading towards A&M. Jarquez Hunter, the kid out of Mississippi. Some of you guys in the comments have mentioned him. He's leaning towards Auburn. We got to get him in there because he will see the field. Because again, to what B. Will pointed out, our running backs have a history of getting injured, and just at that position, you're going to get dinged up. So it's important to have depth there. Jarquez Hunter is definitely, I think we're going to land him. I'm curious as to who else Auburn goes after, because you don't want to go into the season with 3 running backs. You just don't. You just can't do that. For me, the third position is actually at safety, guys. Now, I know we're probably going to be moving some people around. Be looking out for like Eric Reed Jr. I'm curious to see what Jacoby Puckett does. Some of these guys are going to be moving probably to safety or getting a chance to play at safety. But Auburn is looking at a kid named Caden Bridges. He got offered. He was actually committed to South Alabama. And this guy it's between us and Mississippi State. I've seen the film on this kid. This kid looks impressive. The kid
didn't we get a JUCO transfer or something like that? That's a safety. I thought I remember seeing something about that.
I think we offered someone who was a DB, who was a JUCO. But I don't know if he's. I'm not sure. I don't have the name with me today, but we'll talk about him definitely on Wednesday. But yeah, Caden Bridges, like this kid reminds me of Sherwood, but he can actually play the pass pretty well. Like he breaks on balls really well. Of course, there's Juwan Gasson, the kid out of Montgomery, who's a 4-star. So we can also see that the coaching staff, especially with Mason, is focusing on safety, because again, we remembered how our heart sank when Smoke got ejected in the Georgia game, right? Like we remember where we was when we saw Sherwood go down later in the year. So it's not that we don't have guys that can play, it's who's behind those guys. And even though we're going to a base 3-4, let's face it, we're going to be 5 DBs on the field most of the time because of what offenses are doing these days. So there has to be an emphasis on the backfield, making sure that you have quality depth. Auburn has had talent in the DB room, but there hasn't been established depth. And I think what they're doing moving forward with Mason is trying to do that, which speaks to these kids that they're going after now in the recruiting cycle.
Yeah, I think if Christian Tutt does indeed come back and play for Auburn next year, I think he needs to make the switch over to safety. I think that would be a good position for him. He does a good job of recognizing things when it's out in front of him. Where he sends to get in trouble is if he has to turn and run with somebody, right? And so if you got a 10, 15-yard cushion before he has to do that, then maybe he can make sure that, somebody just said that. I think he should go over to safety just because I think that that's a good fit for him. He's good when he's coming down and playing in the box. So, I don't know which of him or Smoke is going to be better as the deep safety, as the free safety. Depending upon how they do the scheme, if they're doing 1 high, 2 high, doesn't matter. All I know is I think Cut would be a good to transition over to safety. But yeah, we've got some work to do at that position specifically if somebody goes down, because Tutt has been injury prone too. In his time at Auburn, he's gone down quite frequently. With it seems like his shoulder often is what is plaguing him pretty consistently. So
we did bring in Harvey Uzi. He signed back last month, so that's another name that we can mention. We got some names that we're bringing in. It's going to be interesting to see where all the pieces fall. I don't even know. Has anyone heard anything about Tutt? Like, he's kind of been.
So yeah, I saw somebody say he signed with an agent, but then I also saw that he pulled his name out of draft contention. He's not in the transfer portal. I have no idea, honestly, what Christian Tutt is doing next year. So I said if he does, then
Yeah.
So Drew Tiger is actually making a point to me that it's not just offense where we've had personnel issues, right? So to your point, Isaac, about Tut, right, and getting these guys in the right position, right, there are some things that need to be reevaluated defensively. We have just kind of overlooked them because they haven't been the primary source of our ire, right, over the last couple of years. They've actually been the thing that's been keeping our seasons from falling into the doldrums, right? And they may take some steps back. And so to the extent that we can kind of even things out, they definitely have not been perfect on defense because of the lack of a pass rush and the absence of, transcendent talent on your defensive line, like Derek
Yeah,
Brown.
we weren't
and
even
Marlon
really good
Davidson.
against the run last year, to be frank.
Yeah.
Like last
Yeah,
year, our
right.
defense was a shell of itself in the front seven. A lot of that had to do with injuries and, again, a lack of depth. Like we just didn't have guys to rotate in and out because of injuries up there, or just guys weren't ready to come in and play. So I honestly don't know why the front seven took such a huge hit. KJ Britt going down is definitely a reason for the linebacker core being out of position, out of out of place often.
Yeah.
But
Right.
but that still being able to build depth at key positions is something that we have been suffering from since we had those two guys that were up front, in Montrevious and freaking why is my brain escaping me? Brown. Like
Derek Brown.
Derek Brown, and then Davidson, Marlon Davidson. They seem to just make everybody better around them, and we don't have those guys. So that means other guys have to step up and play better consistently.
Or maybe we have these guys on the team already, but the way that we evaluate talent is going to change drastically, right? Like I love Drew Tiger, man. He's always dropping nuggets at me during the day, right? My girl is like, "Who are you texting all the time?" I was like, "Listen, babe, just calm down, right? Like we're talking football over here." And he's bringing up some names that honestly, I'm like, "Who is this kid?" I got to Google this. He's already on the team, but we haven't heard anything about him,
right?
Because the way that the previous staff evaluated talent, we wouldn't. And what I'm excited about now is that the fresh slate means that we might actually get to see some guys who we never really were on anybody's radar, because everybody's starting from zero now.
Wait, do you feel like that about the defense though? I feel like the defensive guys, they got on the field early. They got into the rotation.
I don't know. It's because
who knows?
Yeah, close to the end of the year or specifically in the bowl game, we definitely saw some people get significant snaps in the bowl game when Newkirk wasn't playing, when what's the other guy that was up in the middle?
Walker?
Zacavius Walker was a new guy. I'm just talking about like the guys who have been playing more.
Truesdale?
Yeah, Truesdale. So when those two guys weren't playing in the bowl game, we got to see more of those other guys get snaps. And, Hardy, Walker, those guys were coming in. They were playing well up front, but they didn't play a ton of significant snaps in the regular season unless somebody was hurt, right? So the rotation was a little bit more damaged. So I think that, we've had issues on both sides of the ball with making sure that we are rotating properly and with making sure that we have the best guys in there to play.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So,
well, guys, let's. Of course, one of the things we do want to highlight, because I know this is something that people have talked about. It's not going to affect the 2021 class, but it is something to think about 2022. We do know that Gunnar Stockton did commit to Georgia last week.
Right.
Guys, he never saw the campus, Auburn's campus. We wasn't after him. His name really didn't come into forefront until after we hired Bobo. And that leaves us the question. We did a facts or not segment a few weeks ago. And by the way, we'll talk about that coming up as well. But we did a facts or not segment where we talked about whether or not Auburn was going to sign a 5-star.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Wait. I'm dead, Uzi. I'm so dead at this comment.
Oh yeah, that's that meme. That's
probably Anyway, go ahead.
He was Brian. Was he one of your 5 stars you was hoping we were going to land?
Not necessarily, because I was worried. I was thinking more along the lines of a defensive lineman and an offensive lineman. Like those, that's the trenches are going to be the priority. Harsin has alluded to that so much in his press conferences. So I expected us to be able to get a stud on both the offensive and defensive line. Quarterback, I think we all expected that relationship between Bobo and Stockton to carry and kind of pay dividends for us here. But the fact that he didn't even get on campus means, I'm not gonna say it because y'all always say I'm crazy, but y'all know what that means.
He preferred to go somewhere where he had that was closer to home for him.
Yeah. Let's move on from that.
Yeah, that's exactly what he meant. So listen, let me ask you this. So is it safe to is it the fact that we're hopeful about Davis's ceiling that this doesn't sting for a lot of us, because we're hoping that Davis becomes the
Not
guy.
for me. Not for me. I mean, I guess there's a little hope, but again, I just don't have hope in a kid I haven't seen. I've seen his high school tape. Okay, his high school tape
Sure.
looks great. Let me see him playing snaps against college talent.
Yeah.
Then my hopes get up. I am not one of these people who goes gaga over a high school tape for at any position, right? Like I love the prospect of what I see in a kid, but I want to see him play those snaps before I'm like, okay, now that's what we're talking about. But again, I evaluate high school tape way differently than a lot of people do because you have to remember high school tape is highlights. So of course they're going to look good on every single play that you see from their tape because they want you to see the stuff that they could potentially do well. What I want to be able to do is evaluate play to play how well they're doing consistently because the highlights can make anybody look decent, right?
Right. So again, to that point, a lot of people.
And again, this is not me bagging on Davis specifically. I get like the throws that we see from him give me encouragement because I do like the fact that he sets his feet. I like his ball placement, all of those things. Great. But what it doesn't show me is whether or not he can read a defense well and not throw picks to the other side because he's a little late with his recognition.
But that
doesn't show me. It is about coaching, but that's the thing that takes time. You don't just come in. There are very few kids that come out of high school with the gifted ability to play at game speed at the next level. It's just it's so rare. It's so rare that you see a kid who's just at the quarterback position specifically. Skill positions maybe just because a lot of that has to do with God-given talent. Like Anthony Schwartz is just fast, right? Like you can't coach him up to be faster. What you can do is help him run routes a little bit better. What you can do is help him recognize how to sit down in the zone better. Maybe even work on his hands a little bit better. But he's going to be fast regardless of where he goes to play football.
Right.
Because he can just run. Right, he's going to outrun people consistently. You can make him a little bit better. Technical aspects of his get off on the line, but you can coach that stuff. From the quarterback position to be able to start day one, it's difficult to do that and play mistake-free football. So
unless they protect him with play calling.
Even in that, even if you protect a kid, he's going to make mistakes. Like
it limits your offensive calling. If he can't read a defense, it limits your offensive play calling, right? Like,
for sure. I think that's an issue with what Bo Nix was seeing early in his career. It's like, well, not even necessarily early in his career. Early last year, I think that they wanted to do some different things. You can see the difference in the way that they schemed a playbook up for Kentucky versus how they did against Georgia. Because I think that they saw during the Kentucky game, we're not ready to run all of this stuff in this offense, right?
Let me talk about
it's just way different.
So again, when we're evaluating a high school tape and you're saying like he has all day to throw, great. But what I'm looking at is not the end results of the play. It's his fundamentals. It's how we get to the end results of the play, right? He does set his feet. And if you can't do it when there's no pressure on you, you're definitely not going to do it when there's a bunch of pressure on you. So at least he has a foundation that they can build on. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
And because when you go back and you look at the tapes of Gatewood and Bo Nix and some of these other guys, they never had it.
Right, like the Gatewood tape. Let me say this is not revisionist. We didn't have a show at the time. Gatewood's tape never impressed me because the vast majority of the plays were him running the ball. Right. The vast majority were not him completing plays from the pocket, and so I was like, "But he's going to be our quarterback." Like, and everybody wanted to make him Cam Newton. Cam Newton's just a different, there ain't gonna be another Cam Newton, right?
Yeah,
like
he's an animal.
Across the nation, since Cam Newton has played football, where can you point to another guy and it's like, that kid plays like Cam Newton?
Right.
The closest comparison is the guy that's going to be the quarterback for Clemson this year. Size, throwing, all that.
Yeah, but he still is not as dynamic a runner.
He's not.
He's not
I'm not saying he is, but
that's what I'm saying. Cam Newton he's a generational talent. Like he's just a different animal altogether. They talked about Cam in the weight room. Who is? Oh, never mind. I think I'm tipping into somebody who we hadn't even talked about yet. About how somebody we were talking to recently was just talking about how Cam ran with running backs.
Yes,
doing drills.
You're about to,
Right. Yeah, so I can't. I'm teasing the interview we hadn't even ready to drop yet. But he's just a different beast, man.
So when we talk about how we're evaluating high school tape, and we're talking about looking at fundamentals and not necessarily the end results of the play.
This is not true.
Because a bad pass that gets caught is still a bad pass.
Right.
And a lot of people in 2019 got enamored with a lot of bad passes that Bo threw that got caught.
Yeah.
Right.
not realizing that was the same thing that he was doing in high school, except for the percentage chance of it working is much lower in college because there are better athletes all around at every position.
Sure.
Right. And so you have to go back to fundamentals and fundamentally doing things the right way, setting your feet every play. And you know what? Not running from that pressure. Right. We talked about that throw that Cam made to Courtney Taylor, 4th and 12. That was our season. That was
Jason Campbell.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Jason Campbell, right? Well, Cam, but like the other Cam, we called him Cam and before there was a Cam Newton. And what gets overlooked on that play is that Jason got clobbered. He absolutely got destroyed on that play. And he stepped into the throw and delivered the football. Now go back over these last 2 seasons and how many times do you remember Bo doing that? Stepping into a throw and absorbing a hit. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard to pick those moments out. And all I'm saying is that, you know, there is something about being fundamentally sound at the high school level and that carrying over to have a better base for your coaches to work with in college. And there's no magical switch that flips between year 2 and year 3 that suddenly a quarterback gets it. You either fix your fundamentals or you don't. Right. So, you know, and if we talk about accuracy, right, there are a couple of reasons why a quarterback might be inaccurate, you know, but when a quarterback steps up and delivers the ball, like when a quarterback steps up and delivers the ball and then a receiver drops a perfectly thrown pass, it's easy for all of us to see that wasn't about the quarterback. Now, ask yourself if that's what we've been looking at for the last 2 years. Perfectly delivered balls that just get dropped, right? That's not what we've been looking. It's a mix of things, but ultimately, that 58% completion percentage could have been improved on by 6 or 7% by just fixing fundamentals with all other things still the same, right? Bo could be a 65 to 66% quarterback with 7 to 8 more touchdowns. If he would just fix his fundamentals, and 6 to 8 more touchdowns will completely change the complexion of our season. Think about the games we lost. Right. We don't lose to South Carolina, right? So we're a 7-win team automatically. Right? We probably win our bowl game 8.
A&M's on the table at least.
A&M's on the table.
Right.
The 9-win season you guys want so badly is there. Right, with just good fundamentals and everything else being the same, with an O-line that actually improved as the year went along. So, you know, that's why I'm excited about Davis. I'm like, at least if this staff is on par with the last staff in terms of how they coach, if you have a guy that comes in with better fundamentals, he is already light years ahead of the guys that we already have on campus.
And because the biggest improvement would be that we have a coaching staff who will not let Davis regress. They would not let him continue bad habits that he has or develop new bad habits. And that's going to be the biggest benefit of what we assume is a much better offensive coach and quarterback coach is that, hey, we know you made some magic doing some terrible stuff. Keep doing that magic though, because it's working. That's how we beat Oregon.
This is so off topic, but Blake, where are you shoveling snow at, bro? Like, I don't want to be there. I just want to know where to avoid.
He might be in DC because we got 5 inches of it outside right now.
Nah, brother, I'm good on that.
Yeah, I saw a comment because Corey said, could we say Trevor Lawrence was good as a freshman, but he also was well protected by the O-line? Listen, after I was rejoicing in my home when Clemson demolished Bama in the national championship game, I was giddy, talking so much trash to all my Bama friends and family on social media and in text messages. I think we all had a good night that night. However, after that game, I was like, you know what? Trevor Lawrence really wasn't what – I mean, the defense embarrassed the offense. Clemson's defense embarrassed the offense. However, the wide receivers were making outstanding catches. The wide receivers
that's a true fact.
Did so much work for them in that game and in that year. Trevor Lawrence – on tape, he never stood out to me to be the quarterback prospect he's been hyped to be. I'm not saying he's not good, but they were talking about him like he was Andrew Luck. I saw Andrew Luck doing more.
So Andrew Luck, he is the perfect example of what I talk about a kid who has all of the stuff. from day one.
Right.
He knows how to read defenses. He knows how to put the ball where it's like he needed very little coaching up when he got to the next level, and even when he got to the pros. Like the issue with Andrew Luck is his offensive line was always trash,
never did
and he
what
was
they
getting
could.
tattooed all the time.
But it
But
didn't
he was
stop
just-
him from completing passes, though.
But that's what I'm saying. Like
But
Andrew
it
Luck
cut
is
his
just
career
one of
short.
those, right? But Andrew Luck is just one of those quarterbacks that you just want him on your team immediately. If you don't want to coach a quarterback and you just want him to come in and play, you got to find Andrew Lucks every year. Everybody else is going to need some level of development to be able to get there. Because even kids like Tua played really well and had really good stats, but his issue was he was always trying to go for home runs every single play, and it would get him in trouble. He would try to flush out of the pocket if it wasn't there. Like he just would not accept sacks or just taking what the defense would give. He wanted to throw for the home run all the time, and that's what got him in trouble. And somebody had to coach him to say, Tua, it's okay to hit a check down every now and then. It's okay to just throw the ball away. It's okay to actually take a sack in this scenario.
And when you got receivers who can get behind the defense as often as Bama's was, it was tough for him to learn that lesson, right?
And he
So,
never
yeah.
really learned it. And so on the college level, again, and I asked this question mid-season, was Tua the key? Was Tua the most impressive, or was it the talent and the scheming around him? And I am leaning harder and harder into, especially after Mac Jones' year, it was the talent and the scheming around him. Because somebody said it on a broadcast. It was a NFL show, and they were like, you know what? There's a difference between Alabama Open and NFL Open. And the difference was Tua was
Dreamweaver is
throwing it
killing me
Alabama.
talking about how many passes Bo Nix threw in the game. I don't even remember what game. He said it earlier. 47 attempts in some. Oh, I think it was a South Carolina game. He had 47 attempts. Like that's just way too many throws.
Way too many throws. Yeah.
Anyway.
We set him up to fail. We set him up to fail in that game.
we did.
But and so all of this goes back to something which is habits. What are you seeing, and how does that translate to how you develop on the field? Listen, whether in a good way, you can be successful doing what you do. So I think and we were on this example. Tua at Alabama could be successful holding the ball a little too long. Now he paid for it with some injuries because he's not built well enough to stand up to that punishment. So you hold the ball too long and you want to make that throw because you just know your guy's going to get open. Yeah, but you're going to pay for it every now and then. And unfortunately for him, he couldn't stand up to that punishment. In the situation with Bo, it's all right. I've got these bad habits, but every now in college, in high school, maybe one out of every 2 times, I'm going to make something magical happen. My dad was okay with that because my dad's the coach. He's not going to sit me. There's nobody better behind me, so I can keep doing it. In college, 1 out of every 6 times, it ended up with some good happening. The other 5 times, we're getting killed.
Yeah. I'm telling you,
it's not worth it.
So when we talk about the idea that success in high school does not necessarily translate to success in college, I would agree with that statement.
For sure.
But what I would say is that good fundamentals in high school definitely translates to good fundamentals in college, because you just don't forget all your fundamentals once you get to college. There are other issues that cause changes in stats once you get to college. Like, again, level of competition is higher.
Understanding defensive coverages.
Reading defensive coverages, things that are actually things that turn on in the second and third year for a quarterback because they're experience issues.
Yeah.
Right. Set your feet and square your shoulders is not an experience issue. You either just do it or you don't.
And some people, so let's take the instance of like a Jeremy Johnson, right? Jeremy Johnson fundamentally actually wasn't that bad. He just never learned how to let the game slow down for him and make the proper he had happy like Jeremy Johnson was such a stud athlete in high school. If you go watch his high school tape and you see him ripping passes, even early in his playing career at Auburn, ripping passes in that Arkansas game, he had all of the tools necessary to be great. The game never slowed down for him, though. Even when you see him get outside of the pocket and run, he was running over the top of his feet. Like he just couldn't put it all together because it just never slowed down for him. His adrenaline was rushing so high, he just never figured out how to be a college athlete, right? And so that's why we say, like, okay, Davis may have all the fundamentals in the world, but is he going to turn into Jeremy Johnson in the game? Because the game doesn't slow down for him. We don't know that yet. But what we do know is the issue for him will not be he can't set his feet in pro. It's how do we slow the game down for him? How do you figure out how to get that guy mentally locked in so that when he gets into the game, all of that stuff he can do in practice, all that stuff he used to do in high school translates. That's the one thing I will say about Bo Nix. He never looked scared. Ever.
He's never scared, no.
Bo Nix from day one had confidence level. I don't know if I agree with that statement. Bo Nix's confidence level in himself and his abilities never wavered.
Sky high.
He feels like he can go out there and win every single game he plays, and I love that about him because he's a gamer. I just need him to figure out how to be more consistent with throwing the ball and allowing the guys who are going to be dynamic athletes to show that on a consistent basis. And if he can do that, we win 2 to 3 more games automatically.
Yeah, to put your ego away and throw the ball away, right? Like you know, I mean, you don't have to make every play. That's not what good quarterbacks do, right? Good quarterback, you know, again, the mindset is let me not put my team in a bad situation here, trying to be the hero,
right?
You know, rather than trying to win it all on my arm. Right?
My bad, Uzi. I won't mention Jeremy anymore. I'll just say Kyle Frazier next time. How about that? Because he's the same thing.
Right, that didn't help either. Not for me.
Listen, we're at the end here, and I wanted to address something, fellas. That's been near and dear to my heart for the last couple months.
Bo Nix.
So bear with me. This is going to be an emotional speech.
No,
right?
Bo Nix.
There's gonna be no emotion involved in this at all. But go ahead.
But if you've been following our channel, we're now posting some things in the community section of our YouTube channel with polls to kind of get a gauge of where you guys think we're at with certain things. So I think our first poll was who was going to be the offensive MVP of 2021 season. You know, overwhelmingly it was Tank, right? People, right?
LSU game, he was not deadly accurate. So
no, he wasn't. Yeah. Like, let's appreciate that comment, but no. And the next poll that we posted was about whether Demetrius Davis had a chance to actually win the starting job. You know, a lot of people think that he does. You know, based on the people that we polled. Now there were only like 300 or 400 people that voted. You know, so we're just taking kind of like a scientific kind of approach to the poll. And, yeah, like a sample size. And, you know, a lot of people think that he does actually have a chance this spring, you know, but one of the things that I wanted to talk about is about what we do here is that, you know, our criticism of players is limited to their play and not them as people. Right. Like,
see what you almost did, right?
My bad. I'm sorry. I'm just giving examples of quarterbacks who struggled to make the transition from high school to college. They had good fundamental. Anyway, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, our criticism is limited to their play, and it's not ever about them as people, right?
For sure.
I'm sure Bo Nix is a great kid, right? And you know, if Bo is ever watching this, let me tell you, creating echo chambers, because this was something that I heard elsewhere on YouTube that kind of irked me. Right. And I think that it contributes to the delusional mindset that a lot of fans have. So if you watch the War Report, you know we're no sunshine pump zone. We just tell it like it is, but it's never personal against anybody. It really isn't. Right.
Uzi, I need you to create that meme, the one with the Black Panther, and he's like, no, we don't do that here. Like, we just say no sunshine pumping, and then like, no, we don't.
Right.
Just create that meme and email it to us. Anyway,
go ahead. And so the idea here that we should be, how do I put it, like tiptoeing around these subjects because the player might see it and their feelings might be hurt is complete and utter bull, right? I can't state that enough. Like, you know, we're not here to create any safe spaces for anybody. And if your
making me
feelings
want to cry with all this emotion that you're displaying right now, Mike.
Well, listen, if your feelings are going to be hurt by something that we say on this show, right, then maybe football isn't for you, right? Because these kids hear way worse in practice while they're being coached, or they should be, right? So this is timid, man. This is nap time. As far as I'm concerned, this is playground stuff on you know, in kindergarten. What we're saying, because we're just talking about play. They've got to have tough skin just to make it through a practice when they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And the better players block out all the noise. They're not listening to the war report. This is for fans.
Right.
So the idea that we as Auburn content creators should be creating echo chambers where our players don't hear anything negative, right? And they feel safe and welcome at Auburn. Man, listen, I don't know how else to put it, man. We're not handing out participation trophies. Football is a lot harder than that. Everything they go through in the weight room, from practice and film reviews, is way tougher than anything you hear about how we critique people on this show. And anybody out there who wants to create a safe space where, I listened to one creator say, listen, if you're going to criticize this guy, we're not going to show your comments. I'm like, what? What the guy said wasn't even that bad. He was very critical of Bo, but I just thought, I was like, wait, but that comment is fair. I don't understand. He's talking about his play. But what if Bo is watching this? Okay, what if he is? Hopefully he sees it and thinks, man, you know what? Maybe I need to work on my footwork. Why is everybody talking about this? But if criticism drives you into a hole, then you may not have what it takes to be a starting quarterback at a major D1 school. You either feed on it, right? You either feed on it and you become better, right? Or you block it out and you prove the haters wrong. Because whenever we are down on Auburn, I always leave the caveat out. Like, listen, I hope I'm wrong about this. Right. Because I want to see Auburn succeed.
Right.
But not talking about it is not going to make it better, and it's not going to make it different.
Right.
So if you're one of these fans and 10-2 is your expectation, because I've seen that a lot. 9-3, worst case. Wait, what? Based on what? That's what we're here bringing you, because I'm not saying 9-3 is not possible. Brian thinks that it's possible.
Mm-hmm. Best case.
I think that it's possible. I just don't think that it's likely based on where we're at today. Now, after spring, my feelings could change once I see what they're putting in. Right? But we're not here to create safe spaces for people where their feelings don't get hurt, us included. Right? So I appreciate the comments, because you know what? Outside of your safe spaces where you hear other people's opinions, we all get a chance to learn something, us included. Listen, I've gone into some of these interviews with players with preconceived notions about what I think is right, and had my whole ideology busted up by somebody who actually went through the process. And I was like, damn it, you know what? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's why we bring you guys these interviews. That's where the value comes in, because you don't have to take our word for it. I had one guy in our comment section say, this guy thinks he knows everything because he filmed a couple practices. Well, I don't know how many people actually get to film hundreds of practices and see it from that perspective.
I didn't even do it with a cell phone camera, so I don't know. I didn't.
And even with all that I watched, I still don't believe that I know everything. The game has changed a lot since I was filming practice 15 years ago, right? Now, I got a lot of football knowledge from it, but, there's nothing that we cannot learn from each other. That's why I appreciate everyone who DMs me and said, hey, man, have you seen this guy? You guys need to look at this. You're not thinking about it. I appreciate that 100%.
Right.
But if you're going to come at me, come with some damn facts, baby. Come with some stats. Don't come with your weak-ass feelings about somebody else's feelings being hurt. I don't care about that. And you know who else doesn't care about that? The guys opposite you on the field on Saturday.
That's the biggest thing. They don't care nothing about your feelings.
Right.
They don't give a damn.
Absolutely.
Right? You know what I mean? You know who gave 0
F's
about anybody's feelings? Right? With Seth Williams. You remember the play where the Texas A&M DB was jawing at him? Was it Texas A&M? Mississippi State. Mississippi State was jawing at him. He was like,
oh, yeah.
I got something for that ass. Right? And then he caught the touchdown. He let him know about it. And listen, Seth Williams doesn't care about your feelings. He doesn't care about your couch. He doesn't care about your life. Right? And I love that. He blocks out the noise.
Yeah, Jamie and Sherwood, I've told many times, that's my guy. Like, we could be down by 20 with 2 minutes left in the game, and Jamie and Sherwood hit somebody. You would think it was the first play of the game. And he's like, I'm here. I'm out here all day. We know, Jamie, and the game's almost over with. You've been out here, bruh. But he didn't care.
And you hear people talking about.
I loved it every time too.
You hear people give him flack about the fact he'll do it when we're losing, but it's a mentality. Right. It's a mentality that I don't care about you.
The scoreboard doesn't matter. Are we still playing? You're in between the sidelines, correct? And you're playing right now. Gotcha.
Did I just drop you on this last play? Answer that.
Right. Yeah. So all I'm saying is that again, if I'm willing to accept, that's funny. Love you, Michael Morrison. I'm willing to accept that there's some people that may not like what we have to say, right? But you don't have to take our word for it. Listen to the players that we bring on. That's why we're working hard to bring you guys all these different perspectives. Now, our first interview was King Dunlap. I feel like Gus's firing was justified after 8 years of what we saw.
Right. Didn't agree with King at all on that point, but he said it and he meant it.
He said that he thought that Gus and Bo deserved another year.
Even after that conversation, we talked to these guys after the interview for almost a whole hour, and we filled King in on some of the reasons, and he was like, that makes a lot of sense.
That makes sense. Right, yeah.
Again, so go to your point, Mike.
Yeah, his points weren't invalid. I didn't think they were invalid. We just disagreed on whether now was the right time to move on from Gus or not.
Right.
But, the worst thing I want to do is be in my little safe space where I don't hear what people think that disagree with me. So, yes, I listen to other Auburn content creators. Some of them have some great things to say. And we have some up-and-comers in the space. I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but like Chase H is bringing you guys something different. Vernon Speaks brings you guys something different. Right?
Absolutely. We appreciate that.
Yeah,
appreciate that, man.
Devin Dawson over on the All About Auburn board. I know he doesn't exist in the YouTube space, but he's working hard to get people together to create discussion so that we all learn something. Right? And that is the primary mission of our channel. So, again, if you're looking for safe spaces, this is not it. You're going to get your feelings
hurt. It is a safe space. Hold on. It's a safe space because even if you disagree with us, I still want to hear your input.
Okay,
the thing that what Mike is saying is don't just come and tell me, nah, you're wrong. Okay, why am I wrong? Educate me. Tell me something I don't know about this thing. I'm open to hear it. Right, because listen, differing opinions, I will always be open. We don't even agree on the show. Like that's the mind-blowing thing. Somebody made a comment on the Facts or Nah segment on YouTube, and they were like, I don't agree with anything you're saying. Who? We all said different stuff. We didn't all just say the same thing on every question. Like, who do you disagree with?
That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it, is that we are a community, and just like any community, any family, you got differences of opinion, right? And we want to hear your opinion. Why are we wrong? Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it, which is why we tell people, comment.
Yeah, so like the guy who said that Bo Nix was ripping past his all LSU game. Completely disagree. I think the tape disagrees with you as well. He had a couple of good throws, but he also had a lot of it. The throw that I was talking about earlier where he dropped back to pass and then he drifted into the offensive lineman who was getting pushed back into his lap, that was the LSU game. He was not setting his feet and ripping it consistently that game. I can go back and look at his completion percentage for that game, and we can have a conversation about that again. And then somebody said something about Bo Nix would be in the mid 60s if he had Alabama's offensive line. I don't really agree with that because he bails out way more than Mac Jones ever did. Mac Jones would just stand there and take the heat, take the hit, and deliver the pass. Often those guys that were running wide open for Alabama, Mac Jones was getting killed on a lot of those passes. He just decided, I still am going to stand here and take that. I have not seen Bo do that consistently enough to convince me that he's capable of doing it without throwing it off of his back foot.
Yes. Rex Burkhead Part 2. I've been saying it.
So again, we can disagree, and just because I disagree with your point doesn't mean I don't want you to comment anymore. It just means I need you to bring me a little bit more than like a kind of outside opinion that maybe you think when I've done a little bit more study on the tape. So we can study the tape together sometime, maybe. Sign up for that advanced level. That we're going to be dropping tomorrow, and we can have a back and forth conversation about that while looking at some stuff, and you can tell me I'm wrong when we're looking at statistics and film, and I'll be glad to do that.
So that's one of the things that we're actually working to bring you guys is we're working on a film study portion of this, right? YouTube has a lot of copyright things, right? So that when you put
correct yourself. Yes, I mean correct me on what you're saying. I agree. When he sets his feet, he's awesome. So yes, I agree with that.
Yeah. which is almost any quarterback or whatever. And
No, that's not almost any quarterback. That is not true.
Every quarterback is better when they set their feet, right? Like
you were saying, Mike, about
deadly accurate. No,
I was just saying we're gonna try to bring you guys some more of this film study so you can actually visualize what it is that we're talking about. We just have to work out some things with YouTube so that we can actually put that footage up without it being flagged and taken down. But I think if you guys hang with us, we're going to bring more education, more visualization, right? More perspective on the game, so that at the end of the day, after you've watched one of our segments, you feel like you've learned something about football, right? Because we're certainly learning doing it as well too. So that's all I got to say about it.
Somebody said he was a 75% versus LSU that game. So again, I don't. He said his feed not accurate. Yeah. I agree with both of those statements then. Definitely more accurate against LSU than pretty much any other game that he had all season. So I will recant that he wasn't better against that. No, it's not even about the defense. Again, my point is not necessarily how good the defense is. It's about how consistent he is in making the throws.
Right. 18, he was 18 for 24, right? But we didn't score. We didn't score an offensive touchdown until almost the end of the second quarter. Offensively, we were awful that game, so that we're clear, right? So let's take a look. Stats lie sometimes. When you go back and you look at that game, right? We were way up, and it was primarily because the defense kept giving them a short field to work with. We damn near had 3 pick sixes in that game, and a couple of them got called back out to like the 3-yard line, and he had a short field, so they got in. He went 18 for 24 against one of the worst defenses in our league last year. Brian, you called this. You said they were going to be bad defensively. I didn't believe you, but you were right. They were terrible.
Somebody else said this. They were like, I think it was Dream. They were saying that if Bo had played under a better offensive line initially, he wouldn't be so scrambly, which is not necessarily the case, but it does play into how much confidence
I could agree with that
in his offensive line, because he's in practice. He knows when your guys get beat, he's like, all right, so I don't really have that long back here because I know some pressure's coming. If you don't know pressure's, or you don't think pressure's going to come, it's a lot easier to be calm and work through your mechanics in the pocket. So yeah, some of that absolutely can be true.
Yeah, I can agree with that as well. All right, but
let's wrap it up,
the point here is just still preparation. Like, it's coming, figure out how to throw from the pocket or move within the pocket. His first instinct is just to get out of there. And that's just my issue, is that there are opportunities for him to not do that. He doesn't do it. Anyway, we got to go, man. We were way over our time.
We aiming for 2 hours, y'all. I think we
next show, we're not going to talk about Bo Nix at all, right, Mike?
Well, Mike can't be on the show then. So listen, that's the only way that's happening. All right. There was nothing in our notes about Bo, but here we are.
We'll talk about it until
but it was good though. It was good. Let's talk about this upcoming. Oh wow. Okay, so talk to us about what we got coming up this
Wednesday is the day after National Signing Day. We gonna have JG Tate in here talking with us about all things post recruiting. We just gonna talk about everything that we just saw.
It's just after National Signing Day will be over.
Correct. Right. Tuesday's National Signing Day. Wednesday is going to be the day after National Signing Day. We will be in here with JG Tate talking to him about what we just saw. So y'all make sure y'all tune in to that National Signing Day. I apologize to everybody who hopped on the live last time when I was trying to set up the thing and it went ahead and told you we were about to go live and people were in there like, yo, what's up? We in here. And I was like, my bad. So that was on me. But JG Tate going to be in the building this Wednesday talking about all of the things that we just saw transpire on National Signing Day. Y'all make sure y'all tune in. Outside of that, of course, we've already talked about Courtney Taylor's interview is dropping tomorrow. So y'all make sure y'all tune in for that. And we will have a new Facts or Now coming up this Friday. Make sure you tweet at us the things you want us to say on Facts or Now so we can get that fan question of the day in there on Facts or Now. Anything else that I'm missing, guys? Merch store dropping tomorrow. Those membership levels dropping tomorrow. We got all kind of stuff happening this week. February, we finna do it big, baby.
Yeah. Courtney Taylor drops tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. So yeah, that's it, man.
Thank you, Jonathan Harris. I appreciate this comment.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and so I agree and I disagree. I don't think that the O-line, I can't stress this enough, is the source of all Bo's problems.
Not all
I
of
just
them.
really-
They're source
yeah.
of some of them.
It
But anyway,
compounds. It's a compound problem.
it compounds the
Yeah.
issue. All right. Anyway, we got to get out of here, man. Make sure y'all click like and subscribe. So like the videos, subscribe to the YouTube, hit the notification bell. We are the War Report on Twitter and Instagram. We are TW Report on TikTok. We about to get up out this thing, man.
Yeah.
Peace.
Signing off, guys. As always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.